Hi guys, so we are going to review the concept check about distributive property and expressions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the entire uh, concept check and how to do it, okay, to refresh your guys' memory. If you still have this concept check in your binder, it would be super helpful if you could get it out. If you don't have it out, that's fine. Instead, I would suggest that you just write down the work that I'm writing down along with me, okay? So if you have this paper, it would be really good to look at your work and compare it to what I'm writing. And if you don't, then I would just write it on a separate sheet of paper if you can. If you don't have paper at home or something to write it with, you can just watch the video because remember that the assignment is on My MCPS Classroom, so you don't need to have any paper for the actual assignment. Okay, so let's get started. So the question is, rewrite the expression in factored form using the greatest common factor. Use the chart below to show your work. Okay, so remember factors are what make the numbers using multiplication. So we are going to make our t-chart, and I definitely know that you guys remember our good old t-chart, okay? So we have 15 and 25, okay? Now remember, the x is with 15, so we're going to put the x over here. So we have 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. For 25, we have 1 and 25 and then 5 times 5. So then the next question, it says, well, what is the greatest common factor? Because remember, we're rewriting the expression using the greatest common factor. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our greatest common factor. Well, the common factors are just 1 and 5. So the greatest common factor is going to be just 5. Now, when we need to write our equivalent expression, remember our expressions look like this, okay? So our greatest common factor goes on the outside, and then the factors that are multiplied by 5 to make 15 and 25 are what goes inside the parentheses. So we have 3, because 5 times 3 is 15. That's right over here. And then 5 times what makes 25? Well, that's 5 times 5, okay? Now, remember, we have this x, okay? So where does the x go? Does the x go with 5 or does the x go with 3? Well, the x goes with the 3 because remember, it's 15x and 5 times 3 is 15. So we have 15x, okay? And as a side note, remember that we use this box to help us check our work. So we put the 5 up there and 3x and 5. So if we multiply it, there's 5 groups of 3x, which make 15x, and 5 groups of 25, or sorry, 5 groups of 5, which make 25. Okay, so now for our tape diagram, it says to create a tape diagram to represent your equivalent expression. You should have more than 2 boxes drawn. So remember that in our equivalent expression, the number on the outside is how many boxes. So we're going to draw a big skinny rectangle, and we're going to split it into 5 boxes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now mine aren't super even, but that's okay. They definitely should look a little more even. So now what goes inside the boxes is 3x plus 15. So because we have, 3x plus 5. Ooh. Because there's 5 boxes or 5 groups of 3x plus 5. All right, so remember, this is a tape diagram, okay? What I just drew is a tape diagram. Up here is my equivalent expression. Here is my greatest common factor. Okay, so now we're going to move on to number 2. Okay, number 2, it says select the expressions that are equivalent to 3 times 6b plus 8. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to do this. A lot of us talked about and that we liked using the arrows, where we draw the arrows going to from 3 to 6b and 3 to 8. So 3 groups of 6b is going to be 18b. 3 groups of 8 is going to be 24, okay? Now, I don't see that option here, okay? But I do know that it will be 18b plus 24. So this answer right here cannot be an option, okay? Because it has to be plus 24, not 20. So B is not going to work, okay? But I need my numbers to equal 18b and 24. Well, 2 times 9b plus 12. So let's see if that's equivalent, okay? So you can either use the arrows or you can use the box that we talked about in class, okay? So we have 2 groups of 9b, which is 18b, and 2 groups of 12, which is 24. And that one is equivalent, so that will work because it's equal to 18b plus 24, okay? So now let's look at the bottom. For this one, I'm going to review the box that we used in class. So we have 3, and then what we're going to make it goes inside the boxes. So I'm going to put 6b and 8 on top, okay? So 3 times 6b is going to be 18b, and 3 times 8, which is 24. So that works. And look, it's actually exactly the same that's up here, okay? So then it cannot be 42b. Remember we talked about how we don't know what b is. So we cannot combine these two. We have to do the multiplication for 18 times b first, and we don't know what that is, so we cannot combine it with 24 yet. So 42b does not work, okay? All right, now our last problem, using the distributive property to write an equivalent expression, show your work, okay? This should definitely say use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression. Sorry about that typo. All right, so distributive property. That's when you're either using the arrows or you're using the boxes to write an equivalent expression. This problem should take not a very long time, okay? So either you're using the arrows, so I would rewrite it, and I would show the 3 going to the 2 numbers inside the parentheses. So 3 groups of 4c is going to be 12c. 3 groups of 5 is going to be 15. And there's my answer. There is no c with the 15 because it's just 3 groups of 5. There is a c with the 12 because it's 3 groups of 4c. Now the next one's a little different. I'm going to show you using the box method, but you can use the arrows also, okay? So for this one, we have 4x and then 5 and 7. So 4x, okay? Now, that means 4x 5 times, or 5 groups of 4x. So that's going to be 20x, or 7 groups of 4x, okay? So that's going to be 28x. Now, if you want to use the arrows, I'll show you how to use it with the arrows real quick. So 4x times 5, which is 20x, and then 4x times 7, which is 28x, because they both have x. We're distributing the x. So the answer to this one is 20x plus 28x. Now, some of you, when we originally took this, took it even further. So this is a correct answer, but some of you didn't even like went above and beyond. And 20x plus 28x, you can actually combine those because they both have x. And some people wrote 48x, which was awesome, okay? But this 20x plus 28x is still a good answer. 48x is like above and beyond answer, okay? All right, so there's a nice review of what we did for this concept check and distributive property. And I really hope that you guys feel more comfortable with distributive property, and you guys will be able to do the assignment that looks extremely similar to this concept check that we did, okay? All right, I will talk to you guys soon. And thank you for watching this video.